Greetings, everyone, and welcome. It is May the 16th, and coming to you tonight with a quick video because we have confirmation now of what negotiating factors were put on the table today in Turkey. It has been confirmed by Ukraine. It has been confirmed by Russia. Now, I know you see on the thumbnail and the title, I have a picture of Dwight K. Schrute. And of course, I have found his doppelganger, and this is what's so funny. The guy on the right there, with all apologies to Dwight K. Schrute, who is the assistant to the regional manager, Michael Scott, there at Dunder Mifflin, famous American television show, guys. For all of you watching from around the world, maybe you know it or don't know it, but look at the eerie similarities here. I couldn't believe it when I actually saw this angle of the Russian. Now, the guy on the right, I'm going to introduce you to him a little bit later. He was the lead negotiator for Russia today in Turkey, and tonight he was on Solovyov Live at 9 p.m. Moscow time, spewing all the venom, spewing all the propaganda of all the great accomplishments they made in Turkey as Russia won this war down there in these negotiations. This is what we're looking at. So with all due respect to Dwight K. Schrute, I'm just going to be honest with you. I have found his doppelganger, and you can see, yeah, Dwight K. Schrute, he's negotiating for Russia. So funny. So, Dwight, I'm sorry. My deepest apologies to you, sir, for putting all of that. And yes, I'm having a little bit of fun with it, but you just have to. Now, we do have confirmation from Russia and from Ukraine on the differences and the nuances between the 2025 requirements that Russia was putting on the table versus the 2022 requirements that Russia was putting on the table. And I want you to understand these because in my Discord, people were asking questions going, okay, what's the differences? What was actually talked about? And we do have the confirmation. So I want you to see it. Here we go. In 2025 versus 2022, the demands from Russia. These are the demands that came forward today. Ukraine immediately withdraw troops from all four regions claimed by Putin. That would include Lugansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhia, and Kherson. Secondly, Ukraine must recognize the four regions and Crimea as Russian. International recognition is also needed. Third, a neutral Ukraine. No foreign troops or weapons of mass destruction. And you guys know, we've been hearing European nations talk about putting some peacekeeping troops. France, the UK, the list goes on. A model similar to Austria's neutrality is what Russia is looking for. Fourth, no compensation for damages. Russia should not pay anything to Ukraine. We've leveled 20% of Ukraine, and no, we're not going to pay for anything. And fifth, Ukraine must take into account the rights of Russian speakers and stop nationalist propaganda. Now, that's a little different than the 2022. So this is what was stated today by Dwight K. Schrute's doppelganger and confirmed now late this evening, Moscow and in Kyiv. Now, what's the difference between that and 2022? I'm glad you asked. 2022, here are the differences. In 2022, the Russians only wanted Lugansk, Donetsk, and Crimea. Now they want all four regions and are threatening others. And this is not good, guys. In fact, I'm going to show you now. I'm going to use the air raid alarm map to demonstrate to mark this up for you so you understand the differences here. And you're doing that on purpose also because you can also see that drones are flying all throughout the north and the east of Ukraine. So in 2022, Russia was on the table to give up, Ukraine to give up these two regions, Lugansk and Donetsk, and Crimea. Now, 3 years later, they also want them to give up Zaporizhia and also Kherson. And they are threatening other regions. What other regions are they threatening? They're threatening Sumy right here, of which they do have boots on the ground and have occupied some territory in this section. Also, they are threatening Kharkiv region. And of course, they have boots on the ground there in Volchansk area. And it's been there for a while. So they're threatening those two regions. Of course, the threat there nonstop is for Odessa. They talk about it nonstop. Putin wants Odessa. So we can see. Now, another nuance has developed, and that is this. The second one is in 2022, there was a little bit of difference about Ukrainian soldiers. There was no mention that Ukraine and the military needed to withdraw. But now in 2025, Ukraine must withdraw all their troops from Donetsk region, from Zaporizhia region, from Kherson, and the little bit of Lugansk that's left. They have to fully withdraw, leave the regions. And what that would mean is Russia would then pick up territory that they've not even won. I hate to use that word, or occupied. I guess that's a better word. Occupied and destroyed. Ukraine would just leave it and give it up. That's not going to happen. That would include Ukraine losing the cities of Zaporizhia and Kherson, two very large cities, and Zaporizhia is a massive city. It's just not going to happen. But this is the differences that we're seeing. And tonight, Dwight K. Schrute's doppelganger is gloating about it on Russian state TV with Solovyov. I mean, they're just gloating how great they did putting out these demands. And I've already, the video earlier, Trump is out of the picture. So this is what we're dealing with. I mean, Trump can talk about sanctions. Europe can talk about them, but let's do it. Stop talking about it. It's just, this is what we're dealing with right now. And I'm really hoping it changes. The third here, because I already covered the armed forces leaving occupied territories. In 2022, they wanted Ukraine not to file any international lawsuits, but now they are demanding that it abandon all fights for compensation. No reparations. See, in 2022, it was just no lawsuits. Now, no reparations. And then finally, the condition for reducing the size of the armed forces of Ukraine has disappeared. We didn't hear that today. Denazification. We didn't hear that today. It's softened. In 2022, the Russians wanted to make the Russian language the second state language in Ukraine. And now they are simply asking not to restrict the rights of Russian speakers. You can see it here, and to stop the nationalist propaganda. So these are the differences between 2025 and 2022. Putting this video out, I saw the discussions there on my Discord, and I'm sure many others are wondering what the differences are. Now, who is the Dwight K. Schrute doppelganger? His name is Vladimir Bedinsky. He was the lead negotiator today, and it's Dwight K. Schrute. That's just all that's to it. Tonight, today, 21, he was on Solovyov Live. It's already happened, of course. Vladimir Bedinsky updated Russia and the Russian people on the results of the negotiations in Turkey. These are a couple of the statements he made. Diplomacy can be no less fierce than battles. He means it's war. Diplomacy is war. And you see, that's one of the things that I don't think the international community has fully gathered and understand, that Soviet Russian KGB mindset that is entrenched and ingrained for decades and decades and decades. And this is what Zelensky always says. It just help us. I understand it. We understand how to deal with the Russians. Do not constrain us. Just help us and we will defeat them. Because it's a completely different mindset. It's not $4 trillion in a jet from the Middle East. It's a different world. And you have to know how to play in that world. This is what they come back, already blasting it on their television. Finally, he said, we fight for Russia's long-term interest, and we will never operate or cave into the scenarios that do not benefit us or play by someone else's mandates. That is not how we function. Yes, that's a direct statement to Donald Trump. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for all of your support. We're growing. We clipped 60,000 subscribers today, and I want to thank you for that. If you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. It helps us so much. The like button and the notifications and all of those things. Look forward to the comments also. And Dwight K. Schrute, who is this guy? Well, that's the doppelganger. Negotiating for Russia. You guys be blessed. We'll be back at you. I told you it was a busy day.